the name OpenAI put forward to scientists would seem to them surprising. They would say, but science is open because we publish all of our results and they're freely available. And unfortunately, that is not the case. It's not open because it is often difficult to publish, because the journals in which the science is reported are often managed by people who are not themselves practicing scientists and make decisions about what to publish or not, which limit the distribution of scientific information. Secondly, they charge a large amount of money. So for people in the United States or in China or here in Dubai, the governments pay that money to make it possible for them, for all scientists in those places, to gain access to the information. But a scientist doesn't happen to be employed in one of the institutions that pays the freight, or who happens to be anywhere else in the world, cannot gain access to this information. Now, it's worse than that, because part and parcel with that problem is the issue of misinformation, which is also a plague on science, which we could talk about in more detail, but a very serious problem. So those are concerns. And again, OPENSCI attempts or proposes and seeks now, through the modality thus created, and will, it is hoped, either change or refine or improve that in the future to solve those problems.
Okay, so issues like expensive, like misinformation. If you're a scientist and you want to do this, just for a basic person who isn't in science, how does that work? Like, okay, I've got a discovery. How do I then go into this?
So, to take a step back, you asked about the AI agent. So if you're a scientist and you want to make a discovery, that AI agent is helpful, because rather than search for God knows how long through the scientific literature to find relevant information, and taking into account the fact you will never be able to search everywhere in the time available, AI does that for you very rapidly. On the basis of what you learn, you may make a discovery. If you put that forward for publication in a journal, the chances are it will be rejected, because discoveries by their nature go against the grain. Some of my most important work would never see the light of day today. It was published in 1974, when we lived in a different world of scientific publication. And it was accepted then almost because it was unusual. I don't believe it ever get published today. And yet, it is the basis of all of our understanding today of the structure of chromosomes. It is the fundamental principle of chromosome structure. Never get it published today, never in 1,000 years.
That blows my mind. Are you saying that it's almost like people are closed off to new?
Of course.
Surely it should be the opposite, given so much. Why is that, do you think?
If these magazines were managed by practicing scientists, by the people I most respect, I can assure you it wouldn't be a problem, because they would be struck by something which they appreciate. People use the term out of the box, something unexpected. They would see in it something unusual that is at one level or another a solution, and possibly an ingenious solution to a long-standing problem. Unfortunately, the reverse is true in the management of the scientific publications, the major ones certainly, and many of them today.
That's remarkable.
It's a fact, and it is a problem.
Okay. Just going back to the initiative you're launching tomorrow, like how does a scientist use that? Sorry, excuse me for this stupid question.
No.
Does someone log into it?
So the scientist, the scientist uses it. I mentioned 3 components, which are information, which are funding, which are an AI agent, and a scientist can avail him or herself of all 3 components. So the first part, with regard to information, begins with the implementation, and it is hoped the widespread use of blockchain to secure scientific information and make it freely available to anyone who wants, at no cost anywhere. The second, with respect to funding, is a mechanism that has been conceived by the developers of OpenSci that may address the problem of funding. They propose the creation, or indeed I should say they have already put in place, what they call a scientific token or coin. But it differs from other such currencies in the world today in that it is connected directly to science, to a tangible asset. So it offers people the opportunity of, on the one hand, contributing to the support for science. What is invested will flow to the cost of the scientific investigation, while at the same time having a stake in what is found. And so very often, what will emerge from a scientific investigation proves to have significant economic value. There is no other coin like that. The rest are all simply objects of speculation. What people invest in them like they do in, if you will, the stock market or what have you, or in commodities trade. But here, it's an investment in something which has the possibility of appreciating greatly in value.
If a scientist wants to use the blockchain technology, how, just in terms of steps, how does that work?
So what has been created here by OpenSci is a user-friendly vehicle for that purpose. A scientist can go to the platform, have the opportunity of writing down an idea. That idea will be immediately encoded and protected. So it's, I have not done it, but I understand that it's made as user-friendly as possible for that purpose.
Okay, that's great. So there's almost like a portal that you go to.
It is a portal.
I see, okay. And in terms of the token, how would that work down the line if say that did happen?
So what is intended by OpenSci is that scientific projects individually or in general will be available to anyone who wishes, who goes to the site and reviews all of the possibilities, to purchase a coin and thereby make an investment in either a project they think shows promise or in the totality of the science.
Okay, it's clear enough, thank you. I just wanted to ask some general questions about science. I listened to your speech at the dialogues. Sure. Yeah, you said lots of interesting things about how the long-term funding that governments need to do for science because it doesn't have immediate returns. I was just wondering it blows my mind that you couldn't get work published today that you did. To me, that just is really bizarre.
It's a fact.
How do you see the science world right now and how interacting with politics? Do you feel like science is under siege, or how would you assess it?
No, what I would say is that science, it's science in the United States for decades was supported by an enlightened and forward-looking United States Congress and executive. So a large investment in science was made, and it was made with the understanding that the timeline for a return on that investment would be very long. And it was made without realizing that the return on that investment would be 1,000 times greater than anyone anticipated. Science in Europe was less well supported, and science elsewhere in the world was barely supported at all. In fact, most science done elsewhere in the world was supported by the United States government. Again, as a part of that enlightened policy, it did not favor United States investigators. The best idea put forward from anyone, anywhere, received support.
Do you think science generally is as respected as it should be? Scientific endeavor, long-term research?
So as I say, in the United States, it was true for decades that science was appreciated, that it was understood that it was truly the pillar of the economy, and indeed it was respected. In other parts of the world, less so, and in some parts, not at all. Now, part of our purpose here is to push back against what I have referred to, a problem for science.
In your conversations here over the last couple of days, what are you picking up? Are you that fight back?
The Emirates is like the United States, or like it was. The leadership here is both appreciative, supportive. Indeed, that is why we were invited to participate here. The leadership of the Emirates sees the value of a gathering such as this to both the development of the nation and its standing in the world. And that recognition on their part is wise and well placed.
Okay, thanks. Can I just ask you one last question about what you said at the start and the fact that you couldn't get this research published today? What are the other reasons for that? That's really surprising to me.
No, quite simply that it was so unexpected, so completely contrary to all existing thought and information about the subject. It's an example of why AI couldn't discover anything, and I'll put it to you very simply. When that work was done and the proposal put forward, all of the information upon which AI would have been based at that time was wrong. And so AI could never have found something contrary to all existing information, which is all it has to, as it were, rely upon for whatever it might put forward. So that is, in the first place, the limitation of AI. It cannot generate revolutionary ideas, because how can it? By its nature, a revolutionary idea is one that's contrary to existing information, which is the only information available to AI. And at the same time, it poses a real, because it's directly contrary to what may be generally believed or the work of others that have been done before. Of course, it's going to be difficult to publish in an environment like the present one, which is so very competitive. And I would point out to you that when that idea was, when I presented it publicly at that time, all the leading scientists came in and told me this is epoch-making. This will change the world in which we work. So they had no problem with it, and if they were the ones who managed the journals today, it wouldn't have a problem at all seeing the light of day. But in that day, they were. The people who managed the magazine in which it was published were great scientists. They saw it and they appreciated it, and they had no hesitation. Could not happen today. There is no one like them managing any of the magazines today.
They don't like new different ideas to the ones that are there?
Look, I could be more disparaging, I won't. The existing information. It cannot do anything that runs contrary to the body of knowledge today. By its nature, as you can understand. All AI is only a search mechanism.
But you think
it's nothing more or less. It's a capacity for search, and then you can try and program that search by telling it to identify a particular category of information that may be relevant to a problem you're trying to solve, but that's all it can do.
But then why is every headline, everything's AI revolution, AI is going to change everything? If it's just a search engine, is it overhyped?
Well, yes and no. I mean, on the one hand, hype, yes. I mean, the level of hype is, people have put hundreds of millions of dollars into companies, for example, for the purpose of drug development based on AI, and they've all failed. Every single one has failed. They've put hundreds of millions of companies over the last several years. Those companies have gone public on the stock exchange, and they haven't produced one drug, and they're all disappearing. All of that investment was wasted. Even large amounts of money have been invested by very rich people seeking to extend life. They all want to live longer. They have no idea what's involved. All of the investment they made in the companies they've created to achieve that purpose will ultimately disappear. On the other hand, it is not all hype. For the very reason that I told you, if I want, I use it all the time. All of my students and fellows and every scientist I know as a powerful search engine.
But it's not like replacing loads of jobs or cutting all these different roles.
It is true that it will replace some jobs. Take for example, I mean, think you look at the work lawyers do for us. I mean, they draw up standard contracts. There's a lot of work involved which is routine. That kind of routine effort can be replaced by AI. People will tell you about other activities where savings could be achieved. I was hearing from someone in the hospitality industry that they have an AI-based robot for cleaning toilets in hotels. And they say it goes around and it does a better job than people, because it doesn't just work, but it has all of the cleaning materials and it does everything in the best possible way. Sure. Okay. I mean, there will be robotics, there will be enhanced robotics, AI will drive it, and all the other stuff that AI can do. So it's not all hype, but it is hype.
Thank you very much.